FIFA have announced their top 10 candidates for this year's The Best Awards, which is basically...
like that?
Because it's a competition against the Ballon d'Or, which is, I don't know, required or not required. It's part of the FIFA calendar now. In September, the awards will be read out. But the main story is that Van Dijk is on it, the shortlist, along with Sadio Mane and Mo Salah. A quick look at the top 10 candidates shows us that we've got Mbappe, we've got Messi and Ronaldo, of course. Dijk is on there, De Jong is on there, a few others to name. But do you see it past Van Dijk this year?
Not really. And let's be honest, I think it's surprising that the only reason it's surprising that Van Dijk is on there is because these lists are normally occupied solely by strikers and midfielders. So it's good to see a defender get a mention. Still waiting for a goalkeeper name to be thrown in, certainly in this year's list, but that's for another day. But I don't think there's anybody can question the inclusion of Van Dijk, given the season that Liverpool had, given how important he was to their successes. It only seems right that he's at the very least on the shortlist, and in my opinion, should be one of the favourites. I should have Alisson. Again, don't get me started on there not being a goalkeeper in there, given Liverpool's successes at club football domestically and Brazil's own success in this year's Copa America. But Van Dijk, given how good he's been, given how he's transformed that Liverpool team ever since he first arrived, rightly there, and in my opinion, should win it.
How shocking is it? You mentioned that in jest slightly about Alisson, but how shocking is it that there's no goalkeeper on there and supposedly the best 10 players in the world?
Well, yeah, but again, you get me going on a tangent here, not just about Alisson and this year's list, but just in general, how goalkeepers and their roles are perceived or underrated or just totally disregarded, more to the point. But you have somebody who's finished second in their domestic league, in some would argue is the toughest league in world football, won the Champions League, and then won the Copa America for Brazil on home soil, yet still can't even make a top 10 list. That simply is beyond me. Maybe it speaks to exactly how good Van Dijk has been, which means that if Van Dijk doesn't win this, it's an absolute absurdity in every regard.
There's usually, since they've reinstated this award in 2016, there's usually very little divergence between it and the Ballon d'Or, which comes later in the calendar year, caps off the calendar year. I think, effectively though, if Van Dijk wins this one, he'll be odds-on favourite, as he is at the moment for the Ballon d'Or, so it's almost ruining the surprise.
Yeah, it is. And listen, on the one hand, I am not at all a fan of individual awards as it relates to a team sport. You know how I feel about those things, and I've been on the record, but here we are discussing it, so I'll give it its just reward. Yes, I don't understand the need for two separate awards. That's all politics as far as I'm concerned. And certainly as much as these individual awards are a matter of opinion, maybe there can be some divergence, but this year, the only options, I believe, are between Alisson and Van Dijk. Alisson not on this, maybe he gets a nod for the Ballon d'Or, we'll wait to see. But yeah, you kind of figure that if Van Dijk wins this, it's more than likely that he win the Ballon d'Or as well.
Okay, so we can all debate the merits and the value of having the FIFA Best Competition as a rival now to the Ballon d'Or yet again. But from what we can see, it's Van Dijk all the way.